All right. Well, welcome everyone to Clear Process Solutions Manufacturing Analytics two-part series. We're happy to have you today, and we're going to be talking about bridging the gap between the office and shop floor. I'll be your moderator today. My name is Justin Barr. I'm a partner and co-founder here at Clear Process Solutions. I'm joined by a panel of experts with starting our first conversation, Dave Martin, and he'll introduce himself as he starts to introduce his beginning and struggles on the manufacturing process. And then we'll talk to Chris Denisiak, who will be our data architect on the phone that will be talking about the tipping point in the new beginning. I wanted to make sure everyone knows this is a two-part series. So part one is all around the story of the manufacturing reporting complexities and how they were solved with real-time analytics. We'll talk at the end about our second part when that's coming up, the date and time. First and foremost, I want to make sure that today you're taking away something that you didn't have before. So as we talk about the takeaways in the upper left, we want to talk about just education and awareness. A lot of our customers are not familiar with some of the things that CPS does. So we want to make sure that awareness and that you're educated today on some of the things we can say the art of the possible. And not to mention, we want to make sure, as we talk about manufacturing, it is very complex. There's a lot of data, there's a lot of machines, there's a lot of people and technology. So we want to try to simplify that. And hopefully from today's webinar, you can take away how we can actually make that simple. So for an agenda, we're going to start out with a quick introduction to CPS. I promise I won't take that long of your time to introduce the company. We'll then go ahead and turn it over to Dave Martin, who will talk about manufacturing analytics. And CPS has a unique way of telling a story that is different than a lot of these other webinars that you may go to. We find that this approach of understanding the beginning and the struggle really will help you understand the tipping point, the new beginning, the solutions that were developed. You can imagine going into a movie theater and missing the first 20 minutes of the movie, you're probably not going to know what's going on. And so as we approach this uniquely in this webinar, we'd love your feedback as we send out surveys, but hopefully you'll get a little bit out of understanding some problems that we're seeing across the market. So with that said, we are all on mute today. You can ask any questions in the Q&A panel, so please type your questions. As I see questions come in, being your moderator, I'll make sure to ask our panelists. You can put them in at any time, and then as we'll save time at the end to answer any questions that you have. So as a quick introduction to Clear Process Solutions, our company was founded in 2013. We're a completely virtual-based company. We have clients in over 20 states. And we're industry agnostic. We span many different industries, but I would say primarily 50% of our clients are more in the manufacturing sector. As a company, we are product and vendor agnostic and really driven for the results of our customer and advocating for the customer. We're not a product of feature function type of company. We develop long-term relationships with our customer. We try to align their business goals and objectives with the technology and the platform that exists in the market today. So as we look over some of the common challenges that we see from our customers, looking at the data, specifically to the webinar, understanding your data, understanding where it's located, how to leverage data as an asset, and how to manage your data are all common questions that we're getting from a lot of our customers in the manufacturing space. And then we start to talk about some of the manufacturing challenges that they're looking at and facing today, how to increase machine uptime, how to provide that production visibility, how to reduce quality defects, how to capture data, all common challenges. And as Dave tells his story today, there may be some related items that you relate to what he did in the past and kind of how he's helping our customers in the future. And some of these challenges are not just limited to manufacturing. It really does span a lot of different spaces. From Clear Process Solutions perspective, we are experts in data integrations, processing, and technology. When you think about data, there's about 43 trillion gigabytes created every single day in 2020. And that is going up on a yearly basis. And it's just really the onset of IoT devices and all this data that we're capturing from the manufacturing processes. When you think about integrations, not one company is running one line of business system. There's usually many different line of business systems that all should be integrated in a fashion, whether that's an ERP system, an MES system, a PLM. All these different systems all represent a piece of the analytic pie that needs to be tied together. From a process perspective, we deal every day in the quote to order, order to cash, procure to pay, hire to retire, record to report business processes. There are thousands of business processes out there that exist today, and we help a lot of our customers in those areas. And then certainly understanding technology, whether it's IoT devices, robotic process automation, data analytics, all of these different technology platforms, our customers are looking to understand how to implement it and really drive real-time results in their organization. From a customer engagement model perspective, we really took a look at our most successful customers in 2019, and we said, why are these customers successful? And it really came into one thing, is that everyone had, we formulated this strategy, and then we started executing to the strategy, which drove the results that our clients were expecting. And with CPS, we created our own proprietary framework that we call CPS Sync, which is strategy, intelligence, needs, and culture. And these 4 components of the sync process really help drive results and focus within the organization. From a company perspective, on digital transformation platforms, we really talk about end-to-end transformation, whether that's in your business processes, your forms and your workflow, your data analytics with business intelligence and dashboards and collaboration that you'll see today, and then the manufacturing platforms around data collection, digital work instruction, job tracking, machine monitoring. All of these platforms can play together to really drive results. And we're going to see some of that in the webinar series today. We're going to focus a lot on the data analytics platform. In part 2, you'll see a lot on the manufacturing platforms and digitizing the shop floor. Around every one of those offerings, we have 5 core, all those platforms, we have 5 core offerings that we offer, from strategy, where we put together a long-term strategic plan advisory, where we have these sessions like we're having today that really just are educational assessments. They're advising where these platforms can be used and add value to your organization, to CPS providing both professional services, support, and enablement. So we surround all these platforms, and a lot of our customers are leveraging these platforms, and they're putting it into the hands of the business. And there's some customers that are forming Center of Excellence team that are looking to leverage robotic process automation or manufacturing platforms or data analytics. And certainly a team can be successful at it, but it could also be used for the broader group of your business and what we call citizen developers. From a support perspective, not every company is looking to form the Center of Excellence team, or they need some ad hoc support. So we do have a unique offering in the market called Business Process Managed Services, which really has 2 components: a professional services and project component that, given the number of hours that you choose to work with CPS on a monthly basis, we're able to shrink a consulting fee, hourly fee, by up to 25%, as well as providing a support and ticketing method. So if you could think about, when you put in a password reset, or you put in a help desk ticket to have your laptop fixed, that's an outsourced or a support desk. We really have a level 3 help desk. All of the digital transformation platforms that you'll see today and then the next webinar are all supported by a staff that's been trained, and we roll this all up into one agreement called BPMS. So with that said, I want to turn over our story today to Dave Martin, who is going to talk to us about his beginning and struggle in the manufacturing world. Dave, over to you.
All right, thanks, Justin. So hi, everybody. Again, my name is Dave Martin. I joined CPS about 7 months ago, following a great career with a $2 billion manufacturing company here in the Cleveland area. I came on board CPS to help lead the manufacturing improvement practice. So during my time, my 24-year career, I had the opportunity to work as a manufacturing engineer, a sourcing engineer, and then I had the opportunity for a number of leadership positions where I got to lead engineering, operations, continuous improvement teams, and global quality. part of my reason for joining CPS is that I wanted to be a part of helping companies drive greater improvements in manufacturing with new tools and technologies that are emerging, and have the ability to take manufacturers and manufacturing to a whole new level. So today I'm going to tell a story that I think represents a lot of manufacturers today, and it's a story that I'm very proud of in my career. This was a few years ago. I joined a team and we made a lot of improvements, and again, something at the time in my career that I'm really proud of. But when I've looked back, there are so many things that could have been improved upon and can be improved upon today with new technologies, new approaches, new methods, and that was a big part of my reason for joining CPS. So first of all, I'm going to just take you back to the beginning. So I joined a plant leadership team as an operations manager, and we were responsible, our team was responsible for the transformation of a 220-person plant that our company had just acquired. So generally, we were responsible for improving the safety, the quality, the cost, and the customer service and delivery of that plant. Well, when we started as a team, we really didn't know what the performance of the plant was. We had some information, we had some estimations. It took us a lot of digging through data, and we really didn't have a lot of confidence in the data and information that we had just to get some approximations of our performance. So the first thing that we as a leadership team had to do, we knew our general strategy, but we had to agree upon our metrics and targets. We made sure that those were aligned with our broader organizational goals. We made sure that they were aligned with the ways that the rest of the organization was calculating their metrics. And we created a standard that was trained all the supervisors and all the staff so that we could be aligned as a group, and we knew what we were improving, and we knew what our baseline was and how much we were going to improve it by. A few key areas that we knew up front we were going to need to improve. We knew that we needed to improve our machine uptime. Just anecdotally from what we saw, we knew our uptime needed to go up, and we were going to measure that using OEE, or overall equipment effectiveness. We knew we were going to need to drive our setup times down. We knew we needed to find and eliminate the causes of our downtime. We needed to understand differences such as between shifts. How do we optimize all three of our shifts? How do we get them to perform equally and similarly to each other? We knew that we had to understand what was driving unscheduled time on our machines and manage our orders better. Those were just a few of the areas that we knew we needed to focus on. We also knew that we needed to identify the causes and reduce our scrap, and again, manage our orders more effectively. Really, to sum it up, we also knew that we needed good information to do all of this well. And so that's when the struggle for us really began. So first, we had to establish a common way to get all that data and to make sure that it was trustworthy and repeatable. Well, at the time, we did that with really a bunch of paper forms that were filled out during the shift, at the end of the shift, by operators, by lead people and setup people. Just throughout the day, there was a lot of paperwork being filled out. All that information had to be fed into our ERP system. Usually that information, those tickets, the paperwork, was passed off to an admin, and the admin would enter most of that information the next day, which meant that our real performance data really wasn't available to us at least until the next day, sometimes a day or two later. And then every day, my supervisors, we had about 10 supervisors, they would spend realistically probably an hour, each of them, pulling performance data from multiple systems, from our ERP system. We had a data warehouse system. We had other quality systems. They would pull data from these multiple systems. They would put together multiple reports before they could analyze the data and really understand their performance from the day before and from the last week and month, and they could start to drive improvements. Well, inevitably during the process, they would discover paperwork errors that had to be corrected. Maybe an operator made a bad note or put the wrong time entry in or something like that. Well, that information then had to be followed up on, it had to be corrected. That led to another day in the cycle of getting correct data. I spent probably an hour or more each night pulling and reviewing the higher level data, and then more time compiling my weekly and my monthly reports, again, from all of these multiple systems. What ended up happening is our supervisors that were frustrated that the data took so long to get to started creating their own data sets, usually Excel spreadsheets. Some of them got pretty complicated, that they kept alongside the ERP data so that they could have a more real-time view of their performance, which meant that they were taking data from their operators, putting it into their own system, and then also that system was getting put into ERP by an admin the next day, just duplicating efforts. Well, then the struggle continued and actually increased. So demand started to go up. So it was a good problem to have, right? The economy was strong, orders were increasing, the plant performance was improving, so we were given more work. Over that first year, we brought in about 750 new part numbers that we added to that plant. So at this point, our machines were heavily loaded, our people were working a lot of overtime, and having good data was even more critical now to know how the machines were running, how our people were performing, what jobs we needed to prioritize, and our systems just couldn't provide real data fast enough. So we turned to lean improvement, which is just a great practice. We implemented better lean practices. We implemented more visual factory aspects, including visual boards with more real-time performance indicators. But again, it was really labor intensive to do this. And what this entailed a lot of times was a supervisor, or maybe a lead person or a setup person was collecting data throughout the day. They were manually marking it on whiteboards so that we could see our performance, we could make faster decisions, people could see when changes need to be made or escalations needed to be made in the schedule. Well, really our performance improved, but it was costly. I'm almost embarrassed to say it. When I think back on this, I estimate that in a 220-person shop, again, this is an improvement time that I'm really proud of, but when I look back, just our operator paperwork time, my guess is it was probably about 33 hours a day, maybe more, that we were putting into just operators filling out paperwork, filling out their time tickets, et cetera. And then there was probably another 10 to 20 hours of supervisor time per day, pulling and analyzing that data. Maybe another even 20 hours per day of indirect labor between our admins and our setup associates and others, entering data, helping manage that paperwork, et cetera. It was a huge cost to us, which is, as I turn it back over to Justin and the team, I'm excited for them to talk about, some of the different methods that CPS helps companies solve this type of problem. Justin, you're on mute.
Oh, thank you, Dave. I'm going to go ahead and launch our first poll today. So if you guys could take a couple minutes to respond to our poll, really think about what are your struggles that you're struggling today. Dave had a lot of struggles and with all the spreadsheets and all the people creating their own ERP systems as we do today with different Excel and trying to gather things because they just didn't have access to real-time data, and it was hard for them to make that decision. So as we launch this poll, it's kind of interesting to see where everyone is ranking this, and we'll go ahead and share this out with the entire group here. Have a large group, and so we'll go ahead and share that out. And as I transition over to Chris Denisiak, and just saying, Chris is a data architect, and he's the tipping point in the new beginning. So as there are many different solutions that could come from Dave's struggle, this is a solution that Chris is common at task at solving for a lot of our customers here at Clear Process Solutions. So Chris, I'll turn it over to you. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Justin. Hi, everyone. My name is Chris Denisiak. I'm our data architect here at CPS. I've been at CPS about 2 years now, and in the data analytics space for about 10 at this point. I've worked in many different industries over the last 10 years, ranging from consumer packaged goods and manufacturing to working in the energy sector. So I would like to walk everyone through how CPS can help solve some of these problems that Dave and his company were facing. First, let me get to my next screen here. First, we utilize our proprietary sync framework to really understand what the problems are and focus on how we can best equip our clients to solve them, whether that be with people, processes, or technology. after walking through and assessing with Dave and the company, this is how we would probably address these different issues. So I would explain to the group that they needed to be inputting data directly into the ERP system and other systems instead of utilizing outside collection methods. We would then automate the creation of analytics desperately needed to improve the efficiency of the business. These new processes would be built and fleshed out, but creating them is going to be one of the highest priorities. So creating these different new processes can drastically reduce the amount of time spent analyzing and aggregating data. Realistically, these methods can save around 30% of the time spent weekly from manual data collection. This will also become easier and improve over time as people and processes become more efficient. These methods can save several hours per day on data entry and data verification and allow the supervisors to actually focus on the quality of the different products that Dave and company were making. Employing analytics would actually give them the ability to focus on the growth of the business. Supervisors are not usually trained as data analysts, so this is going to be a gigantic burden off of their backs, and they'll undoubtedly thank you in the long run. So we always spend time up front building initial processes for inputting the data, and then we extract that same data from the various systems that are used to manage production. Where and how this data is stored is another point that we would address with Dave and the team. By leveraging the software to actually build the reports and visual analytics, we can have near real-time data available to everyone at a fraction of the time that's usually spent. Usually within 1 to 2 weeks, I would say we can have something that's actionable at their fingertips. We would replace a lot of the different Kaizen boards that David mentioned that are scattered throughout the floor with large screens that would show manufacturing hubs. These hubs would then be updated every so often to give a current view of production. By making these different types of changes that I quickly went through, we would actually improve the overall morale of the production floor with the ability to see what was going on without supervisors breathing down everyone's back for new data. This outside of the box way of thinking will lead to an increase in profits even after you've made the investment in new technologies. So working as a team to continually improve these new processes is also another byproduct of implementing these types of solutions. They allow for the evolution of the business to be a leader in the manufacturing sector when it comes to actually utilizing technology to make their jobs more efficient and easier. So we hope that the actual outcomes lead to the team understanding the impact of becoming more data informed and how that can actually help fuel long-term growth. So from that, I'm going to show you quickly something that we would have maybe implemented for Dave and company. Now we understand that everyone's needs and the collection methods of the data are very different. So this is only an example of how we can actually bring the different sources together to build a more holistic view for management and supervisors and everyone to actually be able to see. So what you see right now is a view of a dashboard. So it's taking everything into account that Dave had mentioned, from work orders to cost and scrap to machine runtime and uptime. So this first screen really shows a very high level view. So you could see what's going on and get an idea of what's happening instead of getting down into different spreadsheets and looking at numbers that don't necessarily show you exactly what you're looking for. So looking at open orders next, click on that. I can see that I need to refresh here to make sure that it works. So looking at this progress check, you can see the total work orders that are open. And I can scroll through here and I can see the different machines that's assigned to on the shop floor. So you can see that 135 different open work orders are assigned to this one machine here. And I can scroll through and I can look at the machine cost analysis, the runtime analysis, and all these different charts and graphs that are shown here. And there's also another section that you can go into and look at the work order details. So from there, I'm going to move over to the cost real quick just to show you kind of what something could look like. Again, this is just an example of something that we could have built for Dave to make his job easier. So general cost, scroll down a little bit here so you can see very simple table to look at. And then we can look at the machine cost, something that would actually give an idea of what it's costing to run these machines. So if you need to take a machine down because it's not producing anything and it's costing you money to keep it up, that could be something that you could gather from this. Move to the scrap really quick. And then we can see just in a holistic view, really what everything means from something that's produced or scrapped, and then the percentage of the product that is actually scrapped. And then one thing that a lot of companies that I've seen lately are interested in is machine uptime or runtime. So the machine monitoring is capturing what's happening with the machines, and then we're able to actually aggregate that data and show what it's meaning without looking at purely numbers. So you can see utilized time by actual time and see how these machines compare to one another. And on this one specifically, I could click on this and I could look at this little group, and I can make that selection, and it would show me all the different details in here for those probably about 10 machines or so. I can clear out my selections here, and I can get a bigger view again. So I can actually look and see and drill down into some of these and see what this actually means. So this is, again, just an example of something that we could have put together for Dave and his company to be able to aggregate all those different sources, bringing them all together in one universal utilized, one managed place. So from that, I will turn it back over to Justin.
All right, thank you, Chris. Yeah, if everyone can take a second to imagine maybe a world where you didn't have to collect all these spreadsheets and be able to get 5 different sheets and combine them together and spend your time doing non-value added work. You know, it's an amazing world that we live in, the technology that's available to us that we're not utilizing today. And, you know, it's part of our second poll here. I'm going to go ahead and launch it for the group. You know, what are your business objectives when you're looking at your organization and what you're trying to do? Are you trying to improve your manufacturing analytics, like we see a lot today with, as Dave talked about, reporting processes and manual data entry, offline sources, not pulling from the line of business system? Are you looking at removing paper from the shop floor? Are you lastly looking to automate business processes? And like I said, there are thousands of business processes. You know, your engineer to order process, your return to manufacturing authorization processes. There's a lot of processes that are paper today. And so as we are going to be ending this poll here shortly, it looks like we see a large amount of our attendees today are looking to improve their manufacturing analytics, which means to me that you're at the right event. So thank you for that. I'll go ahead and share that result out to the team for a couple seconds so you can see some of our results here. And as we go back to the webinar and we go back to the storytelling process, you know, the beginnings and the struggles that Dave went through are real and they're complex, and not a lot of people are aware of these platforms that Chris showcased today. I've been, you know, able to see Chris do some amazing things given some data and some time. I've seen turns around of these manufacturing dashboards as little as 8 hours, some as much as 24, 40. You know, you start getting into more complex dashboards, you start combining multiple data sources, of course, you know, that becomes complex. But these platforms provide that simplicity to it. And so as we go through our manufacturing series, I hope you've seen some of the things that you can do with your data and what you don't have to do anymore with Kaizen boards or offline reports, or, you know, you want to combine financial data with manufacturing data. There's an offer for all the attendees today. You know, CPS is offering free strategy sessions. We want to make sure that you're just overall aware of this technology, that it exists, that it can make your life a lot easier. You can stop spending your nights and weekends gathering data, and know that, you know, in your heart that it's not up to date, because you're just going to have more data tomorrow. As we talked about, 43 trillion gigabytes of data is created every single day. And so the other thing, as we look at what CPS is bringing to market, is a proof of value, proving out the value that exists in these platforms today, whether it's machine uptime, analytics that we saw. All of those things we're packaging together for a small services fee. There's no licensing cost. You don't have to buy these hundreds of thousands of dollars of pieces of software to only use 10% of the functionality. You can try a proof of value at a very small fee to understand what are your business goals and objectives, what are your key success criteria and results, and then decide to move forward if everything aligns. So wrap up in questions, I want to go over to our question panel here. So if you do have questions today, we do have a lot of people on the line from CPS. I failed to mention in the beginning, Josh, who's sitting there waiting for his part 2, which is June 30th from 2 to 2:45. Josh and Dave will be kicking off that webinar to discuss how to leverage digital work instructions and real-time analytics to reduce paperwork, improve accuracy, and data-informed decisions on the manufacturing shop floor. So this is going to be really specific to the shop floor, but we, again, you know, going back to the storytelling, understanding the beginning and the struggle, getting into the tipping point, new beginning. It should be a great second part. We are recording this, so as we end today, we did have one question, and I guess, you know, looking at Dave maybe, says, does all these changes fall under the whole Industry 4.0 shift? So maybe Josh or Dave, you guys can take that question.
Yeah, that's a great question. So the short answer is yes. I'll give you the longer answer and let Josh pipe in too if he wants. But yeah, I think one of the struggles that a lot of manufacturers have is they hear the term Industry 4.0, and this goes for me too. You know, and we understand generally what it is, but you know, I'd say when I think about Industry 4.0, it means starting to integrate, taking the processes that we've had for, you know, decades, you know, that we've considered relatively modern, and starting to marry those up with the new technologies that are out there. So whether that's and getting good data out of all of our assets, and then leveraging that data to make better decisions, drive our costs down, drive our yields up, et cetera. And so whether that's through tying into our machines to get real-time machine monitoring, understand our machine uptime, getting data more seamlessly from our operators, finally connecting to all those you know, mics and calipers and other IoT devices that we've bought over the last 10 years, and finally connecting those up so that we can actually utilize them and start to error-proof our processes. And then you know, really getting good visibility on top of that, which is, you know, when we talk data and analytics, that's ultimately what data and analytics is about, is getting good visibility so that we can make better decisions faster. So kind of a long answer, but you know, when I think about Industry 4.0, it encompasses all of that.
Thanks, Dave. It was a great answer, and I appreciate the thought. All right. Well, I want to end today's call with thanking everyone on the panel for your expertise and showcasing some of the solutions that we have for our CPS customers. I want to thank you all for attending. Look forward to seeing you to our next second part of this, where we really focus on the shop floor. So thank everyone today, and we'll talk to you next time.